A new chapter of My Dress Up Darling dropped, so that means it's time for another chapter review. Obvious spoiler warning is obvious, if the one in the thumbnail wasn't enough. Welcome once again to Musings by Danon. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Danon, even though I'm currently reading over 600 manga and light novels, with my two favorite genres being fantasy and romance. My Dress Up Darling stands above the rest as my hands-down favorite series currently running. And since my background is in literature, this channel tends to focus on tropes and story structure. Also, and I know it's annoying to keep hearing this, but statistically if I don't ask you to like and subscribe, the video gets fewer subscribers. Okay, I'm gonna get a bit personal before we get into this chapter. Last week, Cute Stuff was sick. When my wife is sick, she has a stubborn streak a mile wide. She pushes herself to keep doing housework and editing, regardless of how high her fever gets. She ignores her body and tries to push through, which usually means she spends more time sick. I bullied her into staying in bed, and even got our kids to help bully her for me when I went into work. We pushed fluids, made her take medicine, and she felt a lot better the next day. So, rather than being sick for a week, she was only down for the count for one day, had another day of light work, and was back to normal the next day. This is a form of control, but when your loved ones are out of control, sometimes you need to put your foot down. That isn't to say I'm completely innocent either. I suddenly came into some money this past October and wanted to blow it all on going to the big magic event in Vegas. My wife refused to let me. Yes, it was stupid. Yes, I was being very ADHD and focused solely on the dopamine that I would get from getting to play Commander with people I hadn't seen in years. But it was correct for her to stop me from going. When your loved ones are acting out of control, it is your job to bring them back in line. Allowing them to do something stupid or self-destructive is neither supportive nor loving. It is enabling, and enablement is toxic. Unfortunately, Gojo is still very new to having a friend, and even newer to having a girlfriend, so he has no idea how to keep Marin in line. And every time he does, Marin tends to go a bit crazy. Hang on, I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's go over what happened, and you'll see what I'm talking about. Marin and Gojo are on a date. Gojo is taking photos of Marin, and we see that his skills have gotten a lot better. He's spent a lot of time talking with and learning from professional photographers. And it happens that the two of them have done a lot today. Marin is excited because this is their first ever date. Gojo points out that they've done stuff like this tons of times, but Marin reminds him that this is their first time doing it as a couple. And now, she wants to hold hands. But Gojo isn't ready to hold hands yet. And Marin's argument that there are a lot of other couples holding hands while watching the cherry blossoms holds no weight to someone like Gojo. Anyone who still wears a samui and ignores the last century or so of fashion isn't going to be pressured by what everyone else is doing. Gojo wants to go at his own pace, and Marin is just going to have to deal with it. Which is probably a good thing, because Marin is the type to sprint ahead. While Gojo may be going too slow, he is still moving forward. But maybe he could learn to pick up the pace a bit. Then again, while physical contact may be easy for Marin, some other aspects of dating are still very difficult for her. I was pleased to see her unable to say Gojo's first name without biting her tongue and blushing furiously. But all in all, things seem to be progressing nicely. The two are obviously in love and are both trying to do what's best. Marin may go a bit crazy at times, but she is a Gyaru, so that's to be expected. And it's nice seeing her happy again after so long. Speaking of happy, we finally got the news announcement for Season 2, which will be airing in 2025. And to be honest, I'm kind of freaking out. Season 1 ended with Volume 5. Yes, the last few chapters had the order played with a little bit, but that's fine. The only scene that was actually cut from the series was when Gojo got help from Usami-san, the old man who works at the fabric store. Usami-san thought that Gojo was making Black Lily's costume for himself. This is quickly cleared up the next time they meet, as Marin was with Gojo. The scene that was cut was only a couple of pages, but sometimes cuts are necessary in order to fit all the important parts and to end at a good spot. Here's the problem. We know the next season will cover 6 volumes, not 5. How do we know? Here, take a look at the announcement poster. The one that has me shook is this one right here. That's Marin in a nun's habit. That's from the Coffin Game arc, which happens in Volume 11. Which means we'll be getting even more cuts in order to fit 6 volumes of the manga into a single core. My hope is that it's a 2-core series, because the image at the bottom we can see Marin and Gojo in a pose from Chapter 108. Okay, maybe it's not exactly 1-for-1, and maybe this one was put into the poster to mess with us and get our hopes up. You know what? Let's just do a deep dive into the entire poster. Here we have Marin as Black Lobelia, which is a nice reference to when Juju put on the cosplay in Chapter 80. Next to that, we've got Marin as a tanned Gyaru. I know, it was just makeup foundation. Admiring the underboob of Veronica. Next up, we have Marin dressed up as Rose from Coffin Game. Though they decided to do the scene in Volume 10, the photo shoot doesn't happen until Volume 11. Beneath that, we've got Marin hugging Shizuku, who shows up twice, once when they meet Amane-san for the first time, and again when Marin and Gojo celebrate Shizuku-tan's birthday. Below that, there's Liz Kyun, the adorable succubus. Marin cosplaying as her is briefly referenced after the school festival arc, which we'll talk about next. Next to her, we have my favorite arc in the entire series, Rei Kagami from Council Host. They even included the Rainbow Rose, which was a nice touch. The reason this is my favorite arc is this is the arc where Gojo finally realizes his feelings for Marin. I've discussed this on the channel before, but for those of you joining me for the first time, allow me to explain. After Marin goes on stage, Gojo is feeling overwhelmed. His whole body is racked with feelings and he's struggling to sort out his thoughts. But the feeling is somehow familiar. Then he remembers. He felt this way the first time his grandpa showed him Hina dolls. And we all know that Gojo loves Hina dolls. Anyway, back to the announcement poster. To the left of Rei, we've got Arisa from We're the Tsukiono Company, a comedy show about bunny girls fighting crime and being bad at it. This is the arc where Marin finally meets Usami-san. Beneath that, we've got Marin in a turtleneck and blazer from the photo shoot. You'll note she's not wearing her colored contact lenses in this image. I know that this is from a chapter I've already mentioned, Shizuku-tan's birthday party, but I still felt it was worth a mention. Now we get the last two, and these were the hardest. At first, I thought this one was from Chapter 108, but going back and rereading it, you can see that Gojo is in his school uniform, not his samue. So I went back and reread every chapter from Volume 6 onto that scene, but it doesn't exist. The problem is, whenever Gojo is in his samue, Marin is in casual clothes. If Marin is in her school uniform, so is Gojo. So this might actually be 2 different scenes. I think it might be a reference to the Arisa arc and 2 separate scenes from that arc. The first was Marin going, "Everyone loves bunnies," and the second is Gojo's face when he sees Marin in the bunny girl outfit for the first time and slams the door in Marin's face. Finally, the first time we see Chibi Marin, other than on official merchandise, is a chapter insert celebrating the manga reaching 500,000 sold copies, which is impressive for a seinen romance. Then again, this is one of the best ones out there, so no real surprise. Later on, we only see Chibi Marin when it's Angi Marin. No, that wasn't a typo. There's a difference between Angry Marin and Angi Marin, as you can see. Volume 11, which is where the coffin party mostly happens, finishes up with Gojo saying he'll make the Mandate of Heaven outfit for Marin. I seriously doubt we'll get that far in the series, so much has to happen. Unless we're getting a 2-core. Remember, Gojo declared that he'd make the Haniel costume in Chapter 86, but Marin didn't put on the costume until Chapter 96. That's 11 chapters, roughly 3 episodes of anime, just to make 1 costume. As far as what will get trimmed, I'm not certain. I know that to fit everything from 6 volumes of the manga, they'll have to cut some stuff, but we'll have to see. Comment down below if you'd like me to do a deep dive on what I think will get cut from My Dress Up Darling Season 2, and if enough people are interested, I'll try to get it added to the next chapter review video. That chapter should be coming out January 16th, so expect a video shortly afterwards. Thanks for tuning in. Once again, a huge shout out to my daughter Cutestuff. I couldn't make these videos without her. If you'd like to hire her to edit your own videos, she can be reached at cutestuff.edits@gmail.com. Link is down below. If you're looking for ways to support the channel directly, you can head on over to patreon.com/Danon. There are several tiers to choose from. You can pick an anime or manga for me to do a video about, or you can join our monthly manga club. I also wanted to give a quick shout out to all of my patrons: Waffles, Jiraiya, Muffins, Marcus, Brett, Roxy, Alix, Borgi, Nazwan, Conga, Aaron, Chris, Robert, William, Pi, Kazaris, Booksu, Patrick, Naffy, Noodle, Tiz, Art, Richard, and Devin. You guys are awesome. I post anime or manga videos often, or you can click here to watch additional videos. Again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all again next time on Musings by Danon.